Google Bard is stupid. Claude AI is a lot better, but can't do math. Elon is still Elon, and the rest of the usual silly tweets, toots, and skeets. Welcome to Tales from the Jar Side. Welcome to Tales from the Jar Side. My name is Ken Cousin, and this is my newsletter. If you don't feel like reading it, that's fine. I'll be happy to read it to you with director's cut information as we go along. So this is the newsletter for the week of November 26th to December 3rd, 2023. This week I taught a reactive spring course on the O'Reilly Learning Platform and two no fluff, just stuff virtual workshops, one on Gradle concepts and best practices, and the other on functional Java programming. I also did my regular software design course at Trinity College for undergraduates that's only got a couple weeks left, this semester anyway. Regular readers of and listeners to, and of course video viewers of, this newsletter are affectionately known as jarheads and are far more intelligent, sophisticated, and attractive than the average newsletter reader or viewer or listener. If you wish to become a jarhead, please click the button. There's the button on the kencousin.substack.com site. And that's where the newsletter can be found. And this is the opportunity for our regular weekly check-in with the YouTube channel. So the companion YouTube channel is at youtube.com/@talesfromthejarside. And it looks like we are up to 943 subscribers, closing in on that 1,000 number, but it's going to take a little while. There were no new videos this week other than the regular newsletter video. I am working on a new one. The new one is going to be working with Claude as a programmatic API. In fact, let's go back to the newsletter to see it. This is entitled Claude in the Spring, this section. I'm still trying to find a good pun with the two of those together. So most of the time in the videos I've been talking about, I've spent my time with the OpenAI tools, ChatGPT or the DALL-E image generator or the Whisper audio to text tool. And I've got a lot of videos on that and other information. But OpenAI isn't the only company providing APIs like this. And given the chaos that erupted at OpenAI a couple of weeks ago, maybe it's a good idea to have a backup plan, to have some alternatives. So before I get to the model I really want to discuss, I want to talk about a little dialogue I had with Google's Bard. I heard that Bard got improved, and for one thing, it could read YouTube videos, or at least process the results and summarize YouTube videos for you, which is, of course, something that OpenAI's had for months. In fact, most of these other tools have had that. Claude's been able to do that for quite some time. Anyway, I decided to give it a try. So I sent this message. It says, please summarize the contents of, and that's a YouTube link to my most recent video. And the response was, I'm not able to help with that as I'm only a language model. And I'm like, wait, what? So I said something that I don't rely on, but I try every once in a while. I asked it directly. It said, the latest update says you can process YouTube videos. Can you or can't you? And the response says, I can process YouTube videos in the sense that I can understand and respond to questions about the content of YouTube videos, which is what I wanted. For example, if you provide me with a URL to a YouTube video, I can summarize the video, answer questions about the video's content, and generate different creative text formats of text content from the video. However, I cannot directly process YouTube videos in the same way a human can. I do not have the ability to watch videos or extract information from them directly. Instead, I rely on transcripts and other metadata that is provided by YouTube or other sources. And they list these 3 bullet points of what it can do: summarize a video, answer questions about a video, generate different creative text formats of text content from a video. Like, okay, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So I said, my previous question did exactly that. I asked you to summarize the content of a YouTube video and gave you the link for it. So what's the problem? I'm not able to help with that as I'm only a language model. I'm like, what? So I tried just asking, summarize the following video, and gave it the link. And of course, it gave the same error message. So when I pointed out that it said it could do that and it couldn't do it, it says, I apologize for the inconsistency of my previous responses. I'm still under development, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But then, of course, it said, if you provide me with a link to a YouTube video and I'm unable to access the video directly, I can still try to answer your questions based on the video's title, description, and other metadata. It didn't do that either. It did nothing. So I finally kind of lost patience with it, and I said, you are an inconsistent idiot. Thank you for your feedback. I'm still under development. I'm always learning new things. I will try my best to be more consistent in my responses to the future. I don't care about the consistency. I want it to do what it says it can do, and it wouldn't do it. Now, I should mention, I also have a plugin in my browser that is the YouTube summary with ChatGPT and Claude. And it's allowed to pick an AI model and a language, and then there's a prompt that says summarize the following in 5 bullet points with a title and a transcript, etc. There's follow-up prompts. There's more and more and more. And it works limited to an extent. I mean, you can't have too long a video, but I have this in my browser, so all I have to do is hit the little View AI Summary button, and when I click on that, then it'll open up ChatGPT, and since I set it to 4, then it wrote out a transcript, and now it's like, oh wait, systems have detected unusual activity. Okay, that's going to be that kind of day. What if I hit regenerate? Let's see if that works. Well, that took a while to generate, even though I cut it out of the video. It looks like there must be a heavy load on the system at the moment. But see, it gave me 5 bullet points, discusses his experience creating a custom GPT, blah, blah, blah. And you could take a look if you want. But in other words, I do have this mechanism, but that, of course, is GPT. That's not Bard. So let's go back. So much for that. So I went back to Claude, the AI tool from Anthropic. If you've never seen that, here's what it looks like. Very spare, clean interface. It says it's from Anthropic. It greets you by name, which is a little disheartening. You put in a message. You can add content. It says 5 files max, 10 megabytes each, accepts PDF, text, CSV, etc. And that's pretty good. And then you could just click Start a new chat, and it will answer questions. Just for the record, I pasted in, please summarize the contents of, and gave it the link to the YouTube video. And it says Claude can't visit links. Responses may contain hallucinations. So, okay, I get that. But at least they didn't say they could and then couldn't. So not a problem. I can generate the transcript and then paste the transcript in, and it could work with the transcript without a problem. It just skips the part where it generates the transcript for me. But of course, what I really wanted was to access Claude programmatically. Well, if you look into that, then there is an API, but you can't just register and get it immediately. There's a web page that says build with Claude, start using Claude and unlock business value with AI. So when you go to the form you have to complete, which is at anthropic.com/early access, then it says this is being offered to a limited set of users, and you have to fill in a bunch of information. Email, first and last name, country, company or organization. Guess you'd have to make one up if you're not in one. Website. So you have to give it a website. I mean, there's a little star, they require that. Job title, industry, please select. And you see there's a drop down of lots of industries there. Why do you want to use Claude? You could say research or business internal, business external product. I think I said business internal when I tried it. Please provide a few sentences outlining how you plan to use Claude, including specific tasks or use cases. And I said, I'd make videos about this stuff, whatever. Please include your GitHub profile link, your personal website or social profile links, and any additional comments. And I submitted the form. And it took, I don't know, a week to 2, something like that. Within a couple weeks, this week I received a response saying, okay, here's your API key. You're in. Like, oh, okay. Well, not the API key. It told me to go to this site where I could then create a key after I had logged in. So I did that. I created a key in the console, and that led me to the documentation. And I'm not going to go into all the details of how to work with it. That's for the next video to let you know, but I did want to show you a couple of examples I did in building the application I wrote. Now, the application I wrote is a Spring Boot app, so I could take advantage of HTTP interfaces, and I could use the new REST client and all this stuff. So here's a test case I put in just to see that it would work. I said, I'm going to provide this response according to Douglas Adams. Well, this request, actually. What is the ultimate answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything? And of course, the response should contain the number 42 in it. And the answer I got back was, according to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, the ultimate answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is 42. However, no one knows what the ultimate question is that corresponds to this answer. That's true as far as it goes. If you read the whole 6-book trilogy, and yeah, that's part of the gag, I think it's 6 books in the trilogy, you find out that in a later book that they don't know what the question is exactly, but it's something like, what is 6 times 9? Which needs a rim shot, right? That reminds me, I totally forgot to do the subtitle this week. Let's take care of that. So the subtitle this week was, I ordered a chicken and an egg from Amazon. I'll let you know. Rim shot. So here's the thing. If you can just Google a question, that's not the sort of question to ask an AI. I mean, if you're going to ask an AI a question when you can't necessarily trust the results, why would you do that? I mean, yeah, Google's gone way downhill over time, but there's DuckDuckGo. There are other options out there. It's a very expensive way to solve a problem is to ask an AI tool for explicit answers to factual questions. Instead, you want to do something that is at least somewhat creative, to give it a chance to do some pattern matching. I mean, that's what they do. So instead, I have the following test. So I compute years from now to be the year 2305 minus the current year. And my question says, Captain Picard was born on the 13th of Juillet, %D, which is going to be years from now, in Le Bar, France. On Earth, his given name, Jean-Luc, is of French origin and translates to John Luke. And I'm basically asking it to extract a person out of that. And the preliminary information, which I'll show you here, says I gave it information saying, here's a Java record representing a person. And that's the text for a Java record with a first name, a last name, and a date of birth as a local date. Then I said, here is a passage of text that includes information about a person, and it's wrapped in these XML tags, person, like this. So the entire question that I plugged in there got inserted into that block. And yes, the Claude documentation actually recommends you make up your own XML tags just to separate out the background information from the actual question and other information. So I said, please extract the relevant fields into a JSON representation of a person object, because I don't want the record back. It's going to come back as a string. So I want string data, meaning JavaScript object notation, which I could then parse. So when I did that, I had to write some extra code with some AI assistance to do the regular expression parsing, because this is pretty typical of what I got back from it. Here is the JSON representation of the person record extracted from the passage. And you see it's got this delimiter, 3 backticks, JSON, and then the JSON data, and then 3 more backticks. And at the bottom, it's got the person record. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get it to stop adding extra information around the JSON. But okay, I can parse that, at least in principle. So I got AI Assistant to help me with a regex, and I managed to extract that. And it works except for one problem. If you look at the detail here, let me bring that back up again. 2380 is way off, because the bottom line is it got the first name and it got the last name and it got the month and the day. That's all great. But when it did the math, it was off by 75 years. Now, I did that with one of the cheaper models, the one called Claude AI Instant, which is really, really fast and very imprecise. When I tried it with Claude 2, the best model they have, then the difference was like 12 years, but it's still off. In other words, don't trust large language models to do math. I mean, I get that. Of course, they're working on that. That's what that Q star stuff at OpenAI is supposed to be all about. And I know this is Claude and that's OpenAI, but if one company is working on it, they're all working on it. I'm sure they know what each other is doing. So we'll see how that goes. So at any rate, that's going to be a lot of the upcoming video. I did have DALL-E help me generate an image, and I asked it for Claude in the spring. And the rewritten prompt that it came up with is a cheerful robot named Claude wearing a jaunty French beret set in a springtime scene with a 16:9 aspect ratio. That's what I need for a YouTube thumbnail. Okay, let's move on to the next section. This time I'm not going to have a secondary section. That was enough by itself. So I'm going to just go into the tweets and toots and magnify some of those. This one I called Every Time a Bell Rings. It says, out of nowhere, my nephew just asked, do you think Pavlov thought about feeding his dog every time he heard a bell ring? And now I'm going to be haunted by this question. You know, that's a really good question. I mean, who got trained here? The dog certainly was salivating, but did Pavlov get trained as well so that every time he heard a bell ring, he thought it's time to feed the dog? Yeah, absolutely. This one I called Words to Live By. It says on this piece of electronic hardware, every machine is a smoke machine if you operate it wrong enough, which, need a rim shot for that. I called this one Mime Types, and it's two parachutists saying, I don't like mimes, but he's good. And it's a mime which is basically parachuting without a parachute, you know, and looks pretty good somehow. Unless he's plummeting to earth and we just can't tell. But I thought that was good. This one I called Praise Be. It says, the thing about birds is that the dinosaurs we were left with were the sinful ones. The others all disappeared in the Velociraptor. I love that one. Velociraptor. Oh my goodness. I don't know where I'm going to use that other than now, but I've got to find somewhere to do it. Perspectives. This one was a post on Mastodon that said, in my opinion, Last Christmas and Careless Whisper are partner songs, telling the same story from the perspective of each person in that miserable relationship. Yeah, you know, I could see that. And I was thinking of putting clips to each song in here, and I thought, I don't want to get... I mean, not like I'm making any money anyway. Demonetization is not an issue for me. But nevertheless, you can Google the songs if you like, and they're both from Wham. So, okay, now the sad one. This week in Elon. And I'm not going to go into it because, yikes. I mean, he really is... He's a sick man. He really is ill. Mentally ill. It's just not good. But Drew Magary, I like Drew Magary. He is a piece of work. Now, he's one of the co-founders of Defector, which is a writer-owned site that publishes weekly and daily articles. It's like a magazine online, but it's really very well done. Here's the Defector right now. I think I have it a little magnified. Let me cut it down in size. So they've got, Ray Ratto's always got good articles, generally on football, but other issues as well, and new articles every day. And there you go. There's the one trashing Elon for his weekend. So you could take a look if you like. At any rate, Drew Magary is, I don't know, I assume that's how his name's pronounced, is one of the co-founders, but he wrote this article for SF Gate, and I think I put a link to it here. The end of Elon Musk. SF Gate columnist Drew Magary consumed Musk's entire erratic interview, so you don't have to, and thank goodness you don't have to. And this is a piece of work. Let's just say content warning. But Drew picks his targets, and boy, did he hits what he aims at. So at any rate, that's the link to the article about Elon's New York Times interview, which culminated in Elon telling Bob Iger, CEO of Disney, and all the other advertisers who had paused spending on X to go screw themselves. Although he was more blunt than that. Again, Drew summarized everything. This was the bottom line. So it's over for you, Elon Musk. You're a public failure of a man. You'll still be rich, but you no longer matter. That's all you really wanted out of this, wasn't it? You bought Twitter because you thought that owning it would make you the most special person in the whole wide world, only to reveal yourself as an unremarkable blank, with no good ideas. You drove everyone away, including the companies that could have propped up your reputation for another 5 minutes. Whether you'll ever understand this is of no concern to me or anyone else. You've shared your bucket. It has nothing but holes in it. So for Bob Iger and for the rest of humanity, let me say, go F yourself, Elon. Go F yourself. Is that clear? Yeah, I guess that's pretty clear. Then I saw this editorial cartoon with famous corporate taglines, and of course the one that's the punchline is X here. I'd been calling X Twitter, deliberately doing what they call dead naming it, because I don't respect the change, as opposed to trans people who, whatever they want me to call them, I'll be more than happy to call them. You know, whatever tries to alleviate some of the difficulties they go through in society, I will do. I'm happy to do so. But that's why I was calling it Twitter. And somebody pointed out that referring to X as Twitter harkens back to a time where it was actually a worthwhile site and useful and everything. Calling it X is more of what it has become. And I'm like, oh, that's a good point. So I think I'll start calling it X from now on. So good luck. Okay, next one. So that's how it happened. And there's a picture here of 3 wise men purchasing gold. And the sign in front says, customers who bought this also bought, and there's a pot for frankincense and a pot for myrrh. And I always thought it sounded like an odd combination, and now we know why. Now we know how that happened. Very good. This one was a post that said, if I had a hammer, or at least I called it that, and the post says, when all you have is a hammer, any time looks like hammer time.
Stop. Hammer time.
Can't touch that. Okay, this one, I called it the Cybertruck Cometh. The caption says, breaking, Tesla announces the new Cyberbus. And of course, it's the giant, whatever you want to call it, from Star Wars. That probably has a name. I don't remember what it is, but it's from some of the Sand People, I guess. And but at any rate, this week, they delivered the first of the Cybertrucks. I'd heard that they only delivered 10 of them total, but I don't know. I did watch Marcus Brownlee's drive-through, to show what they were like. And apparently from the inside, it's a much more interesting vehicle. It just looks incredibly stupid. A 4-year-old's conception of what a car looks like. And, that fits Elon. The other big event in the world that happened this week, or another event anyway, was Henry Kissinger passing away, or is no more. Just a couple of quick memes on that, who shuffled off the mortal coil and joined the choir invisible this week. So hopefully at least some of you will get the Dead Parrot sketch reference there. I should have put a link in, I suppose. But at any rate, if you can't find the Dead Parrot sketch on YouTube, let me know. I'll put a link in the comments. This one said, Henry Kissinger has died at his home in Connecticut. He was 1,000 years old. And to show it was deliberate, they even put the years 1023 to 2023. Of course, he was 100, but it seemed like he was 1,000. Yes, I get that. And the other one was this comment from one of my family members, a Horcrux has been destroyed. I suppose that also gets a rim shot. Okay. So, not that I like making Harry Potter references anymore, because, of course, we found out what a problematic individual J.K. Rowling is. But I'll compensate by saying again, I am very happy to support trans and, LGBTQ people in general in any way that is within my power to do. I'm very happy to welcome them and have them around and be friends or whatever they want. So if I have to make a Harry Potter reference every once in a while as a joke, hopefully they will understand that as just a gag. So if they do get pushback on that, then I won't do that anymore. I don't know. I'll leave it up to them. Let me know what you think. Okay, next one. And boy, was this a combo. Where everybody knows you've never gone before is it's not often a good meme combines multiple really old TV references. Let me magnify that a little bit. I guess I can't get much bigger. It's showing all the actors who were on Cheers on the left and on various Star Trek series on the right, from Kirstie Alley all the way through to Brent Spiner and Data, covering Admiral, Captain Janeway, and that when Bebe Neuwirth played the alien on Next Generation, all the way through. Very good. Fraser Crane there. And the comment, of course, is Cheers was a holodeck program. Prove me wrong. Right. Very good. So have a great week, everybody. This week I didn't really talk about my courses that I taught, but I am upgrading everything to the latest Spring Boot version 3.2 using the REST client and everything. I got a chance to play with it when I did my access to Claude. And this week I have week 2 of the Spring and Spring Boot in 3 weeks course, so I hope to take advantage of that tomorrow. We'll take a look. I'm also wrapping up, this is the last full week of my software design course at Trinity for the semester. Then I have to prepare the final and everything. So let me turn it over to the theme song, and I'll say please subscribe so that you don't miss any of the upcoming information, especially on these AI tools. And I will see you all again next week. Take care.
Hey there, Des, it's time to tune in to Tales from the Jar, so let's begin. Java, Kotlin, and Spring, oh my. Groovy, Gradle, don't be shy. Tales from the Jar side, oh yeah. Crack open the code, let's take a ride. From design patterns to the latest trends, your weekly tech toast that never ends.